Okay, this is People of the State of Michigan versus Maurice Day, docket number 20-568FC. And this was the time set for a contested hearing on the prosecutor's motion to revoke bond. I'm told this will be a no contest plea. Is that correct, Mr. Kuntz?
That is, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Day, could you come up to the podium, please? And then Mr. Kuntz can come up too if he wants to stand over at the other microphone there, or at any distance that he wants. Mr. Day, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Day, you have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Kuntz, and Mr. Kuntz has informed me that this is, although it's now a no contest plea, this is the same thing we tried to do before, which is count 7. And you'll waive reading of counts 1 through 6, Mr. Kuntz?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Stevens, would you read count 7, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. People of the State of Michigan versus Maurice Day, docket number 20568FC, State of Michigan, County of Hingham. The name of the people of the State of Michigan, the prosecuting attorney for this county appears before the court and informs the court that on or about the date of February 20th, 2020, at or near the location of 2211 South Cedar, the city of Lansing, Hingham County, the defendant did, in count 1, carry or have in his or her possession a firearm, to wit, a pistol, at the time he or she committed or attempted to commit a felony, to wit, weapons, firearms, possession by a felon, contrary to state law. That offense is known as weapons felony firearm. It is a felony punishable by 2 years consecutively with and preceding any term of imprisonment imposed for the felony or attempted felony conviction and mandatory forfeiture of the weapon or device. In this instance, because there is no underlying or preceding or connected felony, this would only be a 2-year flat sentence with the Michigan Department of Corrections. And this offense was done against the peace and dignity of the people of the State of Michigan.
Mr. Day, you're being charged here with possession of a firearm and the commission of a felony. That is a felony punishable, as the prosecutor said, by a flat 2 years in prison. There is no, corollary charge of anything that it would be consecutive to. However, if you were on parole at the time you committed this, then it would be consecutive to any parole sentence. Have you had enough time to talk about this charge with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand the charge?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions now about what we're doing?
No, ma'am.
And I'm told you want to plead no contest. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
If your plea of no contest is accepted by this court, it means you won't have a trial of any kind, and you'll be giving up the rights that go along with a trial. That includes the right to have a trial by jury, or if you didn't want trial by jury, trial by judge. It also means you're giving up the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, and to require the prosecutor to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You'll give up your right to have the witnesses against you appear at the trial and to be able to cross-examine them, and to have this court order any witnesses that you might have to appear at the trial. You'll give up your right to remain silent at the trial and not to have your silence used against you, or in the alternative, the right to testify at the trial if you wanted to. Also, when you plead guilty, there's 2 things that are different about appeals. One is you don't get an automatic right to appeal your case to the higher court. Instead, you have to ask them to hear it, and they have to agree. And the other is that when you plead guilty, there are a lot of issues you cannot appeal. And that's very different than when you go to trial. If you get convicted, then you can appeal pretty much everything. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone, if I accept your plea, it means you cannot come back later on and try to say that the plea was the result of some promise or threat that no one told me about today. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
It also means you cannot come back later on and try to say that it really wasn't your own choice to plead guilty today. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a plea agreement, Mr. Stevens?
Sir, Your Honor, thank you. The defendant will be tendering a guilty plea to count 7, unsuccessful plea and sentence to count 7. The people will dismiss the balance of the information. That would be count 1 through 6, as well as the habitual offender notice.
All right, is that a full and complete statement, Mr. Coons?
I believe Mr. Stevens said guilty plea, but it's.
Oh, we often misspeak. So no
Yep.
contest. And what is the reason for no contest plea?
Intoxication, lack of memory.
Lack of memory, okay. And the people are in agreement with no contest?
People are.
Okay, so now it's a full and complete statement of the agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Day, do you agree with this as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
And all of this is your understanding of how it's going to go also, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I don't have to tell you anything about any sentence agreements because as you know, this is a flat 2-year, I don't even have discretion to change it, a flat 2-year Michigan Department of Corrections sentence. So has anyone promised you anything else to get you to plead guilty or plead no contest that hasn't been said here right now?
No, ma'am.
Anyone used any threats to get you to do it?
No, ma'am.
Is this your own choice?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then for a factual basis, I've been given a Lansing Police Department report and a criminal history. So I'll just take a moment because I just got these to review this. Okay, I have reviewed what I've been provided, and I find that all of these events occurred on or about February 20 of 2020. And on that date, at that location, Mr. Day was in possession of a firearm. And he became in possession of the firearm after putting on a coat that belonged to someone else, and the someone else had put his own gun in the coat pocket. Mr. Day put the coat on, but at some point inside the restaurant at the location of 2211 South Cedar Street in Lansing, Ingham County, Mr. Day realized that the gun was in the coat, and the person to whom the coat and the gun belonged told him to just keep it until they left. At that point, Mr. Day was in knowing possession of a firearm, and he was possessing this firearm in the course of committing another felony, the felony being a felon in possession of a firearm. And that is supported by the fact that he has a previous conviction in 2014 of delivery less than 50 grams of a controlled substance. And he was not lawfully entitled to possess a firearm. And it was a pistol. Has the court complied with MCR 6.302, Mr. Stevens?
Yeah, Your Honor.
And Mr. Coombs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you aware of any promises, threats, or inducements other than those already placed on the record, Mr. Stevens?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Coombs?
No, Your Honor.
The court finds the plea is understandingly and voluntarily made without undue influence, threats, or promises of leniency. Per the findings of the court, a conviction on count 7 is supported by the findings, and the plea is accepted, and a conviction on count 7 will enter. And before I give you a sentencing date, Mr. Coombs, you wanted to speak.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Stevens and I approached off the record before this matter started. We were set for a contested bond hearing today, as the court pointed out in that conversation. Once there's a guilty plea, there's no necessarily automatic right to bond, but I would still ask the court to consider giving a bond between plea and sentencing. The ultimate reason for this is just so he can kind of get his affairs in order and say goodbye to his 2 kids and his girlfriend's kids, and just have a few weeks with them left. He is an involved father, coaching Pee Wee football and everything, and so just for him to have, before going away for a couple of years, have the chance to be with them. We are fine with whatever conditions the court needs to impose, including up to house arrest. He'll submit to GPS tether. We'll happily allow pretrial services to come make sure there are no firearms or anything else of concern in the home, but just whatever we can do to give him a few more weeks with his kids on the front end. Understand, of course, it's going to be added to the back end of his sentence, but and I mean, whatever we got to do to make the court feel okay that he's not going to present a danger to anybody and he's not going to go anywhere but here before the day of his sentencing.
All right, thank you. Mr. Stevens, do the people have any position?
I'll leave this in your honor's discretion. I think the court is certainly well aware of what transpired to here and what has also been presented to the court. I'm sort of taking my motion out of it, given that that's still not been litigated, but I know pretrial services has directed at least some information regarding bond to this court that it's allowed to consider. So with that, I will defer to the court.
Well, the Muskegon County charges are what, pending?
Correct.
Okay. Well, everything Mr. Kuntz said would cause me to have mercy and let you out, but for the allegations of new conduct that is of a very serious and threat to the community type conduct. So I have great sympathy for your girlfriend. I have great sympathy for your child. I know this hurts them. It's not my intent to hurt them. It's not even my intent to hurt you. It's my intent to do what I think is safe for the community, and I cannot give you a bond. So sentencing is Monday, April 5th at 3 o'clock, if that works.
It should work just fine, Your Honor.
Okay, and that'll be in person. Okay, so Mr. Day, you will get a visit. Well, I think you'll get a virtual visit from someone from the probation department. They need to talk to you so that they can prepare a report that I'll use for sentencing. So it's really important, but you are remanded to the custody of the sheriff. And I'd like to return the police report and the CCH to the people, please.
If I'm in
Yes. People know.